Here we go. Oh, I think we there. It's loading, loading, loading. There we go. We are loaded. We are there. It's not that I don't. Goodness. Rough. Y'all know I get about to get in trouble with YouTube every single week, right? I want to play the whole song. Good evening. Good evening. It's Friday, so you know what time it is. You're back on the couch with Dr. Kim. I'm Dr. Kim. And this is my deal every Friday night to talk about love and relationships. And I'm not flying solo. I thought I was going to be solo this week, but I have a very special guest with me all the way from Georgia, from hot Georgia. And I'm going to let her introduce herself. And then we're going to get into our topic tonight, walk away wise. So get your, tonight is pineapple margarita. So get your beverage of choice. Also, we're backing up with water. We got to stay hydrated. Okay. But go ahead, like and share, subscribe, get some people in here. I want to see some good conversation in the chat. And so, come on, special guest, tell the people about yourself.
I am Angela Ya. Some of you may know me as the woman formerly known as Angela Hill or Reverend Angie. But I am Angela Ya. I go by that name. And I taught relationships, I don't know, for years at TUCC in Chicago. I am an ordained minister. I am also a Yoruba priestess. And what else do they need to know, Kimberly?
Well, I think what qualifies you to join me tonight, besides all of those wonderful accomplishments, will be evident in our conversation. Okay, so we're gonna leave a little bit at that for our conversation. Sound good?
Awesome.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for being with me, so I didn't have to fly solo tonight. We had quite a few people share already the link for tonight. I had a lawyer friend. I hope she pops in. I had my author friend share, and so a lot of interest in this topic. So again, share, share. If you're watching the replay of this, feel free to share the link and make sure you tell people you just wanted them to hear the show. I don't want them to think that you were sending it to them for some covert reason, some covert reason. But walk away wives. It's a syndrome. Now that I didn't know. But what prompted me to want to look into this, because you all know I do my research, those of you who follow me. What prompted me to want to do this is me seeing the trend myself of women who walk away from marriages, whether they're long term marriages or short term marriages, um, and those particularly with dependent children who relinquish custody of the children and walk away by themselves. They leave the children with the daddy. And we know that typically when people think about divorce, right, they automatically, the kids go with the mother, right? And the father goes on about his business, usually um, marries very soon after, right? Or continues the relationship that may have been a part of the demise of the marriage. Now, I forgot to put my disclaimer on here, so let me do that because I already saw some men who were upset with the topic, Angie. Will walk away.
Mm.
Well, of course they walk away. Well, you know what? They'll walk brother in. Okay. Tune in. There's multiple reasons we're going to talk about, right? I'm not saying tonight, so I want you, again, those of you who might be watching for the first time, I'm not a man basher. I love men. Hey, brothers, I love y'all. I am not a man basher. But you're married to a man, a woman is married to a man, there's going to be some reasons why she walked away from him. Stop me when I'm wrong. Okay. Am I saying all men whose women walked away from them possess these traits? Absolutely not, because I don't know all men. All right. But there's a whole lot of folks that fit into these categories. Okay. And like I said, Angie's going to help me talk about it. So, walk away wives, not a new phenomenon, but it's on the rise, people. It's on the rise. We saw a peak of this around 2009, particularly women who were walking away from marriages and relinquishing custody. So they're saying bye bye to the husband and bye bye to the primary responsible of raising the children. They didn't abandon the children, but they walked away from that being on their docket. Okay. And it started increasing again around 2022. Now, why do you think that is? Do the math. 2022, what happened right prior to that? The pandemic. The pandemic. Folks were on lockdown with these partners, right? And I already did a pandemic divorce show, so we know just in any marriage, right? A lot of marriages, what, 33%? It was a 33% rise in divorces the first 3 months after the divorce. So think about that. We were locked down. What the lockdown started in March, Angie. Then it started March that year, 2020.
March
Okay.
20.
And so they're saying by June, there was already a 33% increase in divorces. So just us being locked up with each other, a lot of folks made that decision to break the broom and leave. Okay. So 2022, we see the spike of women leaving and saying to the dad, you could take it from here. Interesting. So it's caused some uproar, and that is even the name of it. And I thought you would be interested in this. Some people are even complaining about the name of this syndrome because it implies that the woman is doing something wrong. Walk away. So there's negative connotations even in them naming the syndrome. So we need to come up with another name for this other than walk away wives. Hopefully we come up with something before we get off of here tonight. So by definition, a walk away wife is a woman who leaves her husband and sometimes the family, here's the catch, without any signs. So that's why I had the subtitle. Now you see her, now you don't. She was there, now her gone. Okay. And it appears sudden to the husband, but it never is. It never is. He wakes up, I don't know what happened. Everything was fine. And now she gone. Sometimes it means him coming home to an empty house. Sometimes it means him coming home to change locks. Sometimes it's all kinds of signs, all kinds of signs. Anything you want to say before I get into the men's perception of this?
Well, everybody's going to have their perception and their opinion. And while we'll honor all of that, we can only speak to our truths.
Mm-hmm.
And my plan tonight is to speak my truth. In the words of Johnny Cochran, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit.
Okay.
Okay? So if this apply to the gentlemen that are out there, or if you are single, men, I particularly love black men. I am the mother of black men, and my current husband is a black man. So before we start saying, oh, we are bashing or what have you, black men, be clear. That is not the case. I believe if it don't work with the first husband, as it didn't, then I went to another black man.
Uh-huh.
I'm not knocking anybody who chooses to date outside of the race. I am not lifting up any other race. So hopefully we've gotten all the disclaimers, but we got to fix it.
Absolutely.
And if we refuse to face it, then it's going to continue in this pattern. So that's my statement on it. I'm standing with it.
Oh, hey, 10
Hope
toes down.
everybody, that's it.
10 toes down. So what I'm hoping by the end of the night, that's the teacher in me, right? I need some outcomes and some objectives. So by the end of the night, I'm hoping that number one, we'll get a better understanding of why a woman would make a decision like that. Number two, I'm hoping we walk away. We walk away. We end up being able to give grace to women who we might meet along the way who have done so. And I would hope that the men who are listening might be able to identify if they're on the cusp of somebody walking away. So I'm hoping I can help a brother save a brother in case your queen is about to exit and you don't recognize the signs. So I'm going to give you some signs. I'm going to give you the stages. We're going to talk about the backlash that these women get. And then always we end with lessons. We end on a high note, right? And that's for the women as well as for the men. So this I thought was interesting just in marriage overall. Is that men tend to accept that there's a tolerable level of permanent unhappiness in marriage.
Mm, wow.
A tolerable level of permanent unhappiness. I didn't write it. It's a, it's in writing, right? It's been published, not by Dr. Kim. And I've seen some men talk about marriage that way. That's why I was like, okay, I think there's some truth to that. That, you know, the old ball and chain. Think about some of the metaphors, right, of how marriage is referred to. And it's like you giving up your freedom. So, well, this is the price I'm going to pay, right, to have this woman in my life. And it's kind of, well, you know, man, you know how, you know, the old bag, the old wife, my old, you know, my old lady.
Mm-hmm.
And so I read several articles that spoke to this, that men in general from the get-go assume that at some point this is gonna go south. And so when it does, they don't even see it as a shock. They're like, okay, well, you know, we had a good run while we did. And so now we're where I saw my parents or my grandparents. So they just ride it out. That's not even on the radar to try to fix it because it's already been accepted that, well, this is kind of what happens. And I remember my ex-husband kind of telling me up front that at some point when the kids get older, oh, we were looking for a house at the time. We were looking for our permanent house. We had already done our starter house. And so he's like, oh, this is great because when the kids are gone, then I'll have this room and you can have that room. And I was like, huh? And he said, well, yeah, that's what people do when they get older. We don't need to sleep together. After a while, we will have been sleeping together all those years and we're not trying to make any more kids. So why do we need to be in the same room? And I was like, because we're married. Because I got cold feet and
Wow.
I need somewhere to warm them. that's that's why. But he said that's what he had seen, right? All the people that he loved and respected. Eventually, when their kids got older, they had their own room. And they lived happily ever after. She cooked him dinner, they ate dinner, and it was like, okay, they might have watched TV. Good night. And I think maybe there were conjugal visits here and there. I don't know. But I just can't, can you imagine that?
I
This is going
can't.
on.
I can't. Not at all.
So when it goes dry, like that's just what happens. So, and they also, a lot of men, again, not everybody, kind of assume that women just fuss and complain. So when the wife starts fussing and complaining, well, that's what wives do. They nag, man, old lady on me, you know how they emotional. So again, that's just what wives do. So they don't take it as a warning sign. A lot of men don't take it as an invitation to fix, right? Or to attempt to talk about how we should fix this. Okay. So they think she's just gonna fuss, she's gonna complain, she's not gonna leave. She's never gonna leave because this is a pretty good life, right? We got nice house. We got 2 cars in the driveway, maybe a dog and a fish, 2.5 kids. They're doing good in school. We look good together. Don't add church in, which we're going to hit on at some point. And so, we show up on Sunday looking like we're looking. She's not going to leave. And I'm taking care of you, so to speak, or at least it appears that way on the surface. So why would she leave? She just tripping. She's just tripping. Wrong. So brothers who are watching, if your wife is tripping, she's talking, babe, I need you to do, come on now. Which, or wow, when are we gonna have a date night? We haven't had a date night in a while. All right, baby, I've been working, I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep this roof, I'm trying to keep these bills. Aren't you, well taken care of? If she's tripping, here's your invitation to ask her, what do we need to do to fix that? Notice I said what we need to do. I didn't say it was all on you. All right. But if you think she's not going to leave, watch this. 70% of the divorces are initiated by women. They're not waiting for the husband to leave, whether there's been infidelity or abuse or any of the things we're going to talk about. But the lack of satisfaction, and I'm hearing plenty of marriages like that, Angie, it's not adultery. It's not, which people tend to think when a woman leaves, oh, he was cheating on me. Okay. But you are not adding to my life, but you're adding to my stress. And I choose no. I choose no. And it's usually not to start another relationship. We see that trend with men. Usually they will leave when there is someone else. Women are leaving to be peaceful. And we're seeing a trend, Angie, of the women who are not like you got remarried. A lot of women are like, nope, one and done for me. I don't choose to do this again. I will not do that again. I'm good. So maybe I need a maintenance man, or I need a situational companion. I'm not going to go back to the situationships from last week, but they're happy to remain single and completely solo. So they're walking away. So here's the signs. If my cousin Jackie is out there, she usually takes notes for me. Jackie King, here's your cue. Here comes the notes. Okay. Number 1, the sign of a walkaway wife, somebody who's about to bounce. She goes quiet. So remember I said that. So if your wife is getting quiet, all the things she used to fuss about, the garbage, oil in the car, the siding falling off the house, you're not spending any time with her, when she stops fussing about those things, that's a sign, bro. That's a sign. Emotional detachment. She's not trying to hug and kiss on you anymore. She ain't trying to give you no love. Remember, she used to kind of roll over, put a leg on top of your leg, and then you roll away from her. Girl, gone, quit. She ain't putting a leg on you no more. She ain't rubbing your back anymore. She's not asking you when was the last time. She's not trying to ask you for date night. She's chill. She starts doing a lot of things on her own. I'm not going to ask you to fix it anymore. I'm going to call somebody to fix it. I'm not going to ask you to take me out. I'm going to go out with my friends. I'm going to go by myself. I'm not going to ask you for another trip. I'm going to take a trip solo. And a lot of men are afraid, oh, going to them girls' trips. You want it? Literally, I'm seeing droves of women. And you could talk about the retreats at some point. Retreats, or like I said, just solo trips. I definitely have mastered that. I am not afraid to get on a plane by myself. And then the last one, the last sign, when she gets calm and indifferent, meaning there's not even a read on her emotions. Babe, you good? Mm-hmm. She's not hot. She's not cold. She's just there. She's just there. So what do you want to say about those signs? Anything you want to add to that list or expound on any of those signs?
Well, definitely when she gets quiet. Um, my former spouse, I'm a talker. I'm from the womb, okay? and I was in law for over 40 years. So I'm a talker.
By nature.
And
Hmm.
um, I can actually recall, I don't even like some of the sports that he would watch, or no, maybe let's go movies. I like some sports, but it was movies.
Hmm.
And just to try and spend time with him, I would sit through movies that I totally did not like at all. And it got to a point, it was like, okay, well, what you watching? And he was never open to watch anything I liked, because if we watch what I liked, he would literally talk about what I liked in
Oh,
negative. And so I couldn't even enjoy what I was watching because he's over here doing a commentary and just dogging it out, you know. So
like,
we,
never mind.
yeah, you know, it's like, okay, fine. And then, you know, so I stopped. I just stopped. That was the first thing. And then I can remember constantly asking him, because he was always so angry and
Mm,
he was very non-communicative. And I would ask him, what have I done to you that has made you so angry? I mean, tell me if it's something I'm missing, tell me. And he would just give me a glare, like, for lack of a better word, like he just wanted me to drop dead. Just die, you know. And so he was non-communicative. And so I got to stop asking questions.
mm-hmm.
And when you spoke about the women, the girls' trips, the beginning of the end was actually for my 50th birthday.
Mm, okay.
I used to make sure for his birthday, we were all, he's a big amusement park person.
Okay.
So I would always make sure we would have a suite in at Cedar Point in Sandusky, and I would just out the red carpet for him, you know.
Mm,
And but his birthday would be in June, my show's November. By November, every year for, I want to say, maybe 7 or 8 years, come November, we are at World War III and IV and V.
gee.
And so there was never anything he would do for my birthday. He would say, well, we go to Florida for your birthday because we owned a timeshare.
Okay.
That that's different because we got the kids. It's nothing we're doing, you know.
As a
So
couple.
for my 50th, I told him on my 49th birthday, I'm going to be on somebody's island celebrating my 50th. I
Mm.
chose to go to Negril. I
Ooh.
started planning the trip in January of the year I would turn 50. And I was asking him, are you going to attend with me? And he wouldn't give me an answer. Now, to understand his MO, he would always, whenever I wanted to do something, he would go silent and then wait until the 11th hour, 59th minute of the trip taking place to say, well, I was gonna go. I really think we can go, but he's not kicking in any finances towards it. And
Mm,
now it's too late for me to make the plan because I've got to come up with thousands of dollars and it's throwing budgets and everything off. What I did was that January, planning for my 50th in that November of that year, I booked the place at the resort, even though he didn't tell me he was going to go.
mm-hmm.
I had made my mind up that if he didn't go, it's okay because this trip is going to be paid for and I'm going to spend my 50th in Negril. And so I booked the all inclusive resort with plans that maybe he would come. That following February, I was ready to book the flights. And
Mm-hmm.
I asked him again, are you going to be joining me? He did not say anything. So I said, well, I'm going to buy my ticket. And if he decides, he can buy his ticket and he can join me. This went on all the way until I want to say July, August of that year. Now, in the meanwhile, my older sister and a couple of my girlfriends, remembering that this was the year I would turn 50, all called at different times and said, hey, you turning 50. What we doing for your
What are you
birthday?
doing? Yep.
And I said to them, well, I'm thinking I'm going to be in respond. Each of them had said, they were saying, oh, you and your husband are going to be in the grill. I said, I didn't say that. I said, I'm going to. And so
Oh my goodness. For
I
your
remember my
50th.
sister, yeah, for my 50th birthday. It's like not a punk birthday. I don't think any of them are punk birthdays, but this is the big 5-0. And I remember my sister saying, well, why isn't he going? And I said, well, he hasn't given me an answer. I said, he'll probably say something around July, August. Anyway, my sister, her daughter, and one of my girlfriends, actually ended up being two of my girlfriends, all decided, well, you're not going to Negril by yourself. And we'll be there to help celebrate your birthday. They got the information where I was staying, and all of them booked to be there around the time I would be there. What ultimately happened, July, August, here he comes. Well, I was going
Mm-hmm.
to go with you, but it seems that this has turned into a girl trip. Now, mind you,
And how
I've
long
been
you gotta say how long you have been married at that time. I think that's
at that
important to know.
time, oh gosh, at that time, I had to have been married. If I was 50, then that means my son. So I was at least married 30 years, at least. Yeah, I was married at least.
At that point. At that
Yeah,
point. Mm-hmm.
might have been over 30, but definitely no less than 30 years. And I had and add 5 years to the 30 because we were together 5 years before we got married. So we're looking at around 35 years of total together and 30 years married. Um, so and I've been asking since January. I gave him notice on the 49th birthday. And so now
But
he's
that's a whole lot
saying,
of birthdays that he had history with. So
yeah,
I don't think at that point there would have needed to have been a reminder or an
no, not at all.
invitation, right? But like you said, this had been a pattern. This had been a
Yeah.
pattern. So you
And
kept on asking, kept on asking. Mm-hmm.
and I broke the pattern that year because I said I'm going to book instead of waiting on him to come at the last minute and then it's too late for me to get what I want. So I said, well, it's not like the ladies are staying in the room with me. They'll be on the resort and we'll all be everywhere and we come together for dinner or whatever, but we could still do things as a couple. He didn't want that. What he wanted me to do was to still go to Florida with him as we had always done and to change the date for when I would go to Negril, which would in turn inconvenience my sisters who were joining me in Negril because they've put in time on their jobs to join me. So they're going to be in Negril without me, and I'm going to be there with just him. And his pattern had been for at least 7 or 8 years. When my birthday showed up, I was always in tears because he would do something, pick a
Your
fight,
birthday.
something, and have me just miserable on my birthday. So I chose to not change my plans. And he says, well, I'm not going with you. Well, I had already made contingency for that. And so when he decided he wasn't going, I called my travel agent And instead of having the king room that he and I were going to have, I got a suite on the beach with a wraparound porch. And it was the porch, the sand, the water. So I
There
got
you go.
up.
Perfect. Perfect. Solo. Remember I talked about flying solo. So after
Yeah.
repeated requests, year after year, asking for the closeness, asking at least once a year, right? Celebrate me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then now
Yeah.
going over and over. Are you going to join me? Are you going to join me this way? You say nope. So that's the first stage. Then you, like I said, kind of repeating the questions, a little bit of nagging, nothing. So after that third stage, you just say, okay, I'm going to start checking out and planning my exit.
Yeah.
Because how many times can you ask somebody to show up and treat you with some type of consideration? How many times can you ask somebody? So you start planning the quiet exit, and then that last and final stage is, they call it the sudden break. But like we're describing here, it wasn't all of a sudden. But to that husband, it seems like, where did this come from? Everything's been fine. And part of it seems fine because you've been accepting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, what did I say at the beginning? Well, wives nag. So her fussing and us going back and forth, and like I said, the tears, she's so emotional. And, we're both Scorpios, so people talk about, how we move anyway. So that's just how she is. So that sudden break comes by either her announcing, I'm gone, or she goes and makes
Mm-hmm.
no announcement. She moves without warning. And that's the one that's really got people puzzled. Like, first of all, how did she decide to do that? And I didn't see it coming. And how was she able to pull this off? She was planted in stage 3. R. Kelly told you all that before he went to prison. When a woman is fed up, there's nothing you can do about it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Robert. But there's nothing you can do about it. So I'm trying to help the brothers. I hope you can identify when she's fed up, right? Like, I know my kids know it. They knew it growing up. Ooh, let me pull it together because sis about to, okay? You need to figure that out about your woman. That I know she's tripping, but this one right here, and brother to see, this is like the 10th, 15th birthday that you got me out here feeling crazy. Tip of the iceberg. Gotta go. Gotta go. So we're going to run down the reasons because, oh my goodness, this time is going fast. Here's some of the reasons, and some of these are not any surprise at all, right? And these can also apply to the men. So before you all start inboxing me about you came really hard on the brothers, I know some men who feel like this too. The first one being unseen and unheard. You become just like the furniture. I've heard women describe and have experienced it myself. I know you all can't imagine it. Who could walk past all this gorgeousness? But somebody did. Just walk in the house like I'm a couch or a table. You're not going to speak. You're not going to say hello. And you're definitely not going to ask me about my day. But if I ask you, I'm going to get the whole rundown, how it was, who said what the white man did, all of these things. And then there's no reciprocity. So sometimes I was still reaching out. Let me ask him, let me model, right? And give what it is I'd like to receive. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen. So being unseen and unheard, again, because the nagging is just seen as white noise. Eventually she's gonna shut up. Eventually she's gonna go to bed and it'll be over. People get tired. People reach a threshold that I get more respect from the strangers on my job than I do in my own home with a person that I bore children with and for. I don't think so. I'm out. A shift in dynamics after marriage. And this one I hear a lot, again, from men and women, but we're talking about the women tonight. And what I mean by a shift in the dynamic is a lot of people talk about starting one way when they're dating and when they're engaged, right? So we're going to have a marriage that's very different than our parents and our grandparents. We're going to share responsibilities. Now, I'm not talking about 50-50. And for those of you who are asking why I'm still single, that may be one of them, because I don't believe in 50-50. I just don't. I'm not looking for a roommate. Anyway, but people start off that way. And then once they get married, once they jump the broom, now all of a sudden people shift into these traditional roles.
Right.
What's for dinner? Really? So it's a restaurant now? I'm running a I'm running a soup kitchen. I'm running a diner. We were dating. We get in there, we cooking together, we got our little aprons on. Okay, baby, I'll cut you, slice, you know. Now all of a sudden the ring is on and we get home off the honeymoon. What's baby, I'm hungry. Okay. Honestly. And then don't let the children show up. So now you want me to plan the dinner, get the groceries, get the kids, all of those things that are, and you go to work and you come home and you watch TV. I know at least 4 marriages, don't laugh. I know at least 4 marriages that broke up over video games. The husband went to work and he came home and got on the Xbox or whatever was out at that time. Whatever the new gaming system was, that's what he was on. That was his wife. He knew the people online better than he knew the woman in his house. Mm-hmm. Woman got tired. I'm not going to compete against Grand Theft Auto. So you keep going ahead flipping over those cars, shooting people or whatever. Okay. See how many lives you get on that game, because this life right here is over. It's done. So shifting the dynamics. And interesting, I think we get a lot of this stuff off of TV. My new guilty pleasure is, and I know I'm behind, but Love and Marriage, Huntsville. And it's a whole what do you call it, brand, right? So they got Love and Marriage in Detroit, Love and Marriage, I think somewhere in Texas. But the one in Huntsville is the one I'm stuck on. And so there's these brothers, Angie, who both of them, they're like general contractors, they're entrepreneurs. And so they want their wives, you know, we're going to be this Black power couple, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But that's only when they're in the boardroom. Then when they come home, they're looking for dinner. They're asking about children. They don't know what's going on with their children, because you're supposed to know. Well, didn't I just leave a meeting where I had to do this and that with the budget, and I had to do this and this with our partners and all this paperwork? Yeah, baby, what's that got to do with this? I need my wife to be present for me. And I'm sitting there looking at the screen like they can't be for real. And they were totally for real. I want you to be this badass over here, but I still want you to make me breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then massage my feet, my back, and my ass when I get home. Are you serious right now? Are you serious right now? And they get mad when any of those things are not happening in a timely manner. That's not what they signed up for. These ladies like, okay, he does this and that. We're going to be a team. And the team is unbalanced. Somehow the team is not balanced at all. And folks are saying, I'm done. So here's some statistics, might blow your mind. Again, they all center around the pandemic. There was a research or a study done about domestic labor. And here's some of the statistics. 59% of the women who were polled in this study said they do more at home than their spouse, versus 20% of the men. So again, the men are represented. And I know some men who are like, they're the ones who cook, they're the ones that pick up the kids and all of those things. And the wife is the one who maybe is very ambitious outside of the home. But overall, 59% of the women say they do way more than their husbands. 46% of the men think they do everything equally, but only 34% of the women agreed. So again, almost half of the men, we split everything in the house, and the women are like, nope. Watch this, and this number is big. 80% of the women in that study were the primary meal preppers and grocery shoppers. So wow. They were 80%. So again, that's your job, to feed us and everybody, and get the food. So go get the food and cook it. 76% of the women that I think you'll be interested in this, being a counselor. 76% of the women said they were responsible for the mental load at home. They're
Yep.
responsible for making sure everybody is okay.
Yep.
How is
Yep.
everybody feeling? And if you're not feeling right, come here and let me make it better. That's the husband,
Better.
even the bird and the fish. It's looking at mama to make it better. Talk about it. You shaking your head a lot on that one. What you got to say about that?
Well, no, because I literally could remember my former spouse. I could say verbatim every day what he was going to say went on his job
Mm,
every day, and how I would try and speak life into him. And I actually remember, trying to give him other ways to look at it, to spin the narrative for his own highest good. And
mm,
whenever I had a rough day, there was never the question of, how was your day? What's going on? Or if I
never.
did manage to get out a sentence or two about how my day went, and it was going not as positive as I needed it, he would turn around and compare his day to my day, and then make it all about him, and whatever I dealt with got shelved.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would only hear what was going on with him, hear what was going on with the kids, and call up my girlfriends, and like, that's where I would for myself.
And really be able
Um,
to unpack it without feeling like you got to rush or make it even worse so you pay attention. Like, no, it really was bad. No, y'all don't think you're hearing me. Did you? They said
I
this to me like directly to me, and you're like, he's like, oh no, wow. So you got to
yeah,
go to your
yeah,
friends for the moral support.
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Versus like I look at my current husband, and both of us are retired. And so, as he always says, every day is a weekend for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, we aren't really having bad days. But as I started this out, I'm a talker. And so, anything could be coming up in my life, friends' lives, whatever. And he could be doing something else, and I'll come and just do a drive by or something. Hey, and such. And my current husband will literally stop what he's doing to listen to me. And
Mm-hmm.
he's really invested in, how are you? And even for the few times where I called myself saying, oh, I'm good. And he's learned my body language that, no, you're not. He'll sit, and he's going to sit right there until I tell him what's really going on. And it takes some getting used to, of having someone who's listening to me,
Yes.
and who really cares about what's going on with me, even if it's me having an emotional whatever,
Mm-hmm.
he'll
Mm-hmm.
sit
Mm-hmm.
there and he'll listen, and
To
then
ask you the
he
question
sees
and wait for the answer.
exactly, and
Mm-hmm.
then offer comfort, advice, or what have you. And just whole nother thing, I had to learn how to get used to living
Gotta
like that,
accept it.
because
Yeah.
what happens over time, you talk about women running away, they run away because ain't nobody listening to me no way, ain't nobody paying no attention
Period.
anyway.
So why am I
And
here?
I could, and why, in my case, I literally was so sick physically that he didn't even pay attention to how sick I was. And when I left him finally, I ended up being flown back to Chicago 2 months later for emergency surgery. And I had been that sick with him. And
Mm-mm.
the doctors literally told me if I hadn't come in when I did, 30 days later, I'd have been dead.
See? But
And
again, he
so
thought
he
that
was
was just some more
so
of your
busy
nagging or trying to get attention. She's just trying to get attention.
trying to get literally in front of him dying. And he paid. He was so disconnected from me, he didn't even realize I had lost a ton of weight, everything. He didn't even realize. So yeah, that played a big part in me leaving. I remember when all of my friends were asking me, why do you have to go so far? Because I put 990 miles
Gee.
between me and him,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't even want to run into him on the street. And it took me going 990 to be flown back in a rush because I was so sick, to have emergency surgery in Chicago before I could go back to where I had moved 6 weeks after the surgery. I had, and even with that, he still didn't make the. I had left, and for whatever reason, he thought his little minimal would be enough to get me to stay.
The same.
And when the doctors cleared me to get back on that plane, I flew right back.
Went on back. Because
And
that's what people find out. It's like, and that is part of that trend, right? That when she finally leaves, when you finally left, now it's a wake-up call. And I want to try to do something about it. And I believe that was Johnny Mathis and Denise Williams that said it's too much, too little,
little,
and too late.
yep,
You can't fix. And here's the thing: if it was, and I think I'm speaking for you as well, if it was a matter of habits, you may be able to fix those. But when it becomes a matter of character, how you disrespected me, and to the level that you disrespected me, you can't come back from that. Now, I can forgive you and I can forget from a distance. But forgiving you doesn't mean I still need to interact with you.
exactly.
And so those are the things. Like you said, it's a long history of you treating me, and you know my favorite saying, like Alabama trash. That's a whole nother level. I can't unfeel that.
Right.
I can't. And the risk of you continuing that is way too high, especially if you made that escape. And so another part of that, just to finish the statistics, 74% of the women polled said they constantly adjusted their lives to accommodate everybody else in the family, not just the husband,
Mm-hmm.
not just the husband, but including him. That if something happens in the household, it's her that misses work. It's her that's going to run and fix it. It's her that's, oh, I won't go out. I'll stay here because someone needs, someone has to have, someone is dependent on me.
Yep.
And the husband says, oh, great. And goes on without the day that he has planned. I've talked about it even with my students. I said to be a woman in a relationship and to be a Black woman in a relationship, and that's the only, I mean, I don't know about being a white woman because I've never been one, but I know being a Black woman is to wake up every day with an agenda for other folks. And so it takes some unlearning, right? To accept or to say to yourself, self, I don't have to do that. That sacrificing my mental health, sacrificing my physical health is not a requirement for being a good mother or a good wife. But a lot of us were taught that you're supposed to be last. If you're not laying up at the end of the day, oh, I'm so glad everybody is asleep. Now I can have some me time. Then you really didn't do the job. I know that's what I saw, and that's what was affirmed in me. When I had those days, well, that's being a good mother. That's being a good wife. And I know a lot of those good wives who were in the grave
Yep.
worked themselves to death, and everybody, wow, but she made it look so easy.
That part. Mm.
She made it look so easy. And that's why I said, I don't want to be called strong anymore. I don't want to be called resilient anymore. I don't want to be called whatever. Figure it out. Because when I'm in a box 6 feet under, you will figure it out. And I've
Mm-hmm.
seen people do it. The grown ones, the old ones, the ex, all of that. Okay. And so a lot of women too, leading up to that, are because of rearranging their life for everybody else, don't have a life outside of the home.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a life outside of the marriage. I had one that isolated me. It was like, you're married now. So this is who you socialize with. You don't need to be out there with your friends. You don't need to be out there in the streets. Me going somewhere to a mall with people I work with after school is in the streets. That's how that was viewed. And you lose relationships. And some of that is intentional, right? So if you lose everybody else, you got to depend on me.
Mm-hmm.
Control. Control. Some women get to the point they realize all of the goals that they have for themselves are unrealized. I literally got married, got pregnant. Some got pregnant, got married, and I've done both. Right? And you say everything that I thought I would be, I don't even recognize that girl anymore. Watch this. I remember after my divorce, my pastor asked me, he said, "What does Kim like to do?" Me? Yep. He said, not with, well, now your ex, not with your kids, not with your friends. What brings you joy? I couldn't answer that. So that became my homework. And it took me a couple of weeks to figure out what I liked because everything had been centered around the happiness of the man I married, the happiness of my children, and even the happiness of my parents, because I wanted them to be proud of the wife and mother that I was. And sadly, you know what? After I did the homework, I came up with, it was music. I love music. I love live music. I love singing. I love listening to music. And I was like, when is the last time you did that just for you? And I
Mm-hmm.
rolled it all the way back to college, which at
Wow.
that point had been about almost 30 years. So the last time I had felt joy that had nothing to do with another human I was related to was 30 years before. And like I said, that's what
Wow.
we've been, and that's what we've been acculturated to do. To be a mother and a wife is to sacrifice yourself. And some women are waking up. And it's different birthdays. Sometimes it's that 40th birthday and they still have young children. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. Sometimes it's the empty nest when everybody is gone and you are sitting there for the first time in 20, 30 years by yourself. And it's like, what do I do now? Because everything has been laundry and cooking and homework and Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, baseball, basketball, church. So now there's nobody to do that for. What do I do? What do I do? So the honest evaluation of the marriage sometimes come again, those birthdays and the empty nest. Why did we even get married? Tyler Perry has done what, two different installments of Why Did I Get Married? And I hear he's got a third one coming out, and it's supposed to be pretty deep. This one is Why Did I Get Married? And there's a love child that comes back that one of the couples didn't know about, and they have to deal with it. So why did I get married? And some people realize we got married for the wrong reasons. We got married way too young. I didn't know myself. You didn't know yourself. And then we stayed for some of the wrong reasons, which is social pressure, right? I can talk about the great church couple. Oh, y'all look good, Bubba. You're the
Yeah.
house. Like I said, we were that house, right? We were the holiday house. Everybody came to our house for the holidays. And, we were those folks. We were coordinated. We won the Sox games. We're those people. Well, why would you walk away from a marriage like that? And I even remember my husband telling me that. Do you know how many people wish they had our life? I remember
Mm.
somebody saying, you all keep up with the Joneses. Y'all always keeping up with the Joneses. He said, no, we are the Joneses. Okay. He said, we are the Joneses. I was like, "Per." And it was cute at the time. And then I realized, wow, no, you trying to convince me that all of this foolishness that I'm accepting is worth these accolades, right? Of what it looks like on the street. So the honest evaluation, what am I in and why am I here? Say it's too much. So now let's get into some heavy stuff, and then we're gonna talk about the backlash. Some of it is deep, like abuse, right? And we
Yeah.
immediately think about domestic violence being physical, that you're hitting me, you beating me, and that's obviously that happens. And I see that condoned a lot still in the church. I could do
Yeah.
a whole show just on that. The verbal
That part.
abuse and the physical abuse that women are encouraged to endure. Because after all, he is a good man. He's doing all these other things. Maybe he just needs anger management. Dr. Danny, triple Dr. Danny Buhoro, hey girl, I hope she's listening. She put out something earlier today about that. I think Tracy Blackman did as well, talking about he's a great deacon, but he beats his wife.
Mm-hmm.
He's an excellent businessman, but he rapes his girlfriend. So all of these things that women are expected to accept because of the good things that he said. No, you're a bad person. You're a bad person. You beat a
Mm-hmm.
woman, you take sex from a woman, you're a bad person. You verbally abuse a woman, call her out of her name, holler at her like she's worse than a child, you're a bad person. And again, there are some women who do this too. So before you all stop, press pause, and I'm not listening to more. There are some women who are, and those numbers are going up, Angie, women who are physically abusive towards men. Women who are verbally abusive towards men. We call it emasculating men, right? You talk down to a man like he's worse than, even below a child. So the physical and the verbal and the emotional abuse is real. Those are real reasons. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why the women have to walk away like that. You can't announce you're leaving an abuser. What do you think is going to happen?
Exactly.
He's going to convince you to stay, or he's going to coerce and force you to stay. So you got to just leave suddenly. You can't tell him, end of the month, I'm out of here. Really? You try making it to the end of the week and see how that goes. Financial abuse. Okay. Those who make it impossible for you to leave, right? Because they're holding the money, hiding the money, or some who abuse the money, right? Who mismanage the money. So how could you even prepare yourself to go if it's taking everything you have to try to keep a roof, right, over yourself and God forbid some children. So, and then the social abuse, which I said I think I'm going to coin that term, social abuse, when they make it difficult for you to be part of a village. They isolate you from the village. So it's hard for you to see. And there's a girl on that show too, Love and Marriage. It's like that. So many people have tried to tell her husband's cheating, and they have to kind of sneak and find ways to get to her because everything she does is him, and he makes sure that she's not going to all of these girl events. No, because I got to keep you here so you don't believe that this is abnormal, and so you don't hear from these other people that this is abnormal, and you don't see me outside doing that dirt. If you're in the house, you can't see what I'm doing outside. So
Yeah.
social abuse is real. And as a result of all of that, we got a lot of women who end up abusing substances or other addictions to try to deal with that. And then untreated mental challenges. And there's a lot of women, again, and men, or in relationships where people are looking at some of these emotional outbursts as just you being a nagging wife, and that's somebody crying for help. That's somebody crying for help. And some of these behaviors that they're getting in this toxic marriage are triggers from earlier experiences, earlier relationships. And because those feelings are belittled and not paid attention to, People are walking around with untreated depression, untreated personality disorders, and the like, and finally hit a wall where if I don't leave this relationship, I will die. You heard Angie talk about physically dying, but people losing their sanity, losing their grip on reality because I am treated like a nobody. I'm not considered like a nobody. And even with me medicating myself in a number of ways, I am not okay. They decide
Yeah.
if I don't leave in the middle of the night, if I don't leave while everybody is at work, there will be no more me. And so, because of that, bringing in the kids, they realize maybe it is better that the children stay with the father. Now, sometimes it is in the case of physical abuse, and I've always questioned that one. Well, if he was beating you, how do you leave those kids with somebody who was beating you? And so, in some cases, the man isn't beating the children, though. It's between him and that woman. He's not physically abusive with the children. But I wonder that about some who may be. What are your thoughts about that? How do you leave? What do you think is going on if a woman is leaving a man who was physically abusive towards her? What is the likelihood that he's physically abusive towards the children?
I have to say, everybody's got their walk, and I try and stand real hard on not casting that judgment on them.
No, I'm not judging. I'm trying to understand. What do you think might be going again? Thinking, you've talked to a lot of people, counsel a lot of people. What might be going on that would make somebody make that decision?
Well, because in as a whole, she's looking at, I would say, financially, can she do the children are accustomed to living financially, the provisions that are being provided, can she do it on her own? And
Mm-hmm.
her not having enough, um, her not believing in herself enough.
Confidence. Yeah, confidence in
Okay?
herself, self-esteem.
Because here
Mm-hmm.
I made great money. And looking back, I could have left when my children were small, and I could have taken excellent care of them financially. But what was playing on me staying, and I stayed until my kids were grown and all out of college, out the house, and not boomeranging back. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what made me stay was because, one, I didn't want my children to have to choose. They were old enough that the courts would have asked which parent they preferred to stay with.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe children should have to make that decision because children love both parents. And so I wasn't going to put my kids through that. But I should have. I,
Mm.
I
In
think
hindsight, in
in
hindsight.
retrospect, I think we could have pulled that off. But then the other piece was, I was believing, because of my church training, that they needed both parents in the house. I was a child. My dad died when I was 6. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
any memory of my dad. And the man my mother married, I wish I didn't have memory of him.
Mm.
So, you know, um, that those were the factors that were playing into why I wouldn't leave my kids with him, because I was thinking it would better benefit them. What I learned was, because they were witness to how their dad treated me,
Yep.
some of his ways is on them. And
Mm-hmm.
I see it and have seen it. Um, but everybody has their walk to walk.
Oh
And
yeah.
I honor that. And they've got to learn. My boys, in my mind, are brilliant men. And so I've watched as they've matriculated and gone through relationships and what have you. I'm watching them shed some of those negative ways that they picked up from their dad. But it was not without a lot of weeping and gnashing of teeth
Oh yes.
where they were able to let that go.
Yep.
And so there are many reasons. I didn't, at the time, for all the money I was making, I didn't think I could do it by myself.
But like I said, so much
And
of that again is the expectations. Like, and what have we seen? To see a woman go out on her own is to see struggle, right? And
yeah,
people say, "Why would you believe that when you didn't have to be going through this?" And it's like, but you don't know, right?
yeah.
Like you were saying,
And
nobody
even
ever understands what's going on behind closed doors or the space
yeah,
between two
yeah,
people. But yeah, that
yeah.
just
I
is
was
unacceptable.
55
Why would you
when
go do that?
I was 55, Kim, and people, I got banged up bad. And it was a lot of times it was people in the church. And I didn't
Local.
announce to the people in the church. The people in the church found out I left on social media when my status said lives in Savannah, Georgia.
Mm.
That's how they.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people who asked me. I was married to him 36 years when I left. I was with him, I had been with him 40 years total.
Mercy.
And people said to me out of their mouth, these God fearing folks, why would you leave after all that time?
After all those
You
years.
may have, I literally said, somebody said to me, you should have stayed after all those years. And I gave the example. I said, so if he's beating my behind, you're telling me because I stayed, stay and let him keep beating my behind. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, just pray for him.
You
It
know?
ain't better. Just pray for him. You're not praying right.
Yeah. You know? And so is I prayed. And the prayer came back. Take your hands off the situation. And if it
Well,
falls, it falls. And I took my hands off the situation and it failed. But as I am one who always has a contingency, my contingency was when he was going to work, because I had been laid off of my job by then, a
mm-hmm.
firm I'd been at for 10 years, gave me a wonderful severance package and everything. And his emotional and psychological and financial abuse got worse while I was
Once you weren't working, yeah, because now
once I
you
wasn't
captive.
working.
Because what can you do? Now you got no
Yeah.
power at all.
And the whole time, my turning point, I'll never forget, was January 19th, 2018. And we had an incident, and I made up my mind that night, that's it, I'm through. And from January 19th to April 30th is when I pulled out. And I told him one day I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to go
Mm-hmm.
somewhere where no one knows me and start fresh. And he used to laugh about it. And I'd laugh with him. He thought I was laughing with him and I was laughing at him because I knew
Wow.
he didn't take me serious. I
Wow.
for 4 months in front of him loading stuff in crates, labeling them, and he would tell you to this day he thought I was spring cleaning.
Brinkley. I remember when you told me that. I was like, are you serious?
He's carting 4 garbage cans out every week, throwing stuff out, going through stuff, and packing.
Hidden
Had
in plain
everything
sight.
in one lane because I knew he was so disconnected from me, he wasn't going to pay attention anyway. And so when he told me, and he told me more than one time, I never thought you'd leave. And I really thought you were spring cleaning. And I had to tell him, if I were you, I would not say that out loud to anyone because you look foolish.
Okay.
I told
But
you
that's
I
real.
was leaving.
What we say, if you're unseen, that makes sense. We said that was the first reason, right? If I'm
Yep.
unseen, you're not paying attention to me, and what you do pay attention to me, you don't seem to care about.
Yeah.
Then why would I not think I could get away with that?
Yeah.
Right? And at the same time, and I'm wondering, I don't want to project. In the back of your mind, was it also a test to see,
Yeah. It
is
was. It
he really
absolutely.
that far gone? So if I
Yep.
do this, are you at any point going to say, "What, did you call yourself trying to leave me?" or "What what you on?" And to say that I've gone through that whole process, ready for a truck, and you never questioned how I was moving, then
Yeah.
that's that confirmation. But I always wondered that. I said, did she have in the back of her mind, like, wondering, was he gonna say something at some at some point?
I had office in the house literally damn near stacked from floor to ceiling with plastic crates labeled what was in them. And not one time did it didn't even dawn on him that on a regular weekly basis, he was only taking one or two garbage cans to the alley. That whole 4 month period, honey, he was taking four out every week.
Spring
Four.
cleaning. I'm weak. I am weak. So, like you said,
So,
it's you had the pressures from the church to stay, because that's what we're supposed to do, right? And we like longevity. We like longevity. We like to say,
yeah,
oh, that people been together 30, 40 years. And I remember at my ex in laws' 40th anniversary. That was the saddest anniversary party I had ever been to. You could even get them in the same room to blow out the candles on the cake. That's how
wow.
distant they were with each other. Deacons in the church, charter members of the church, right? But everybody was there. There was so many people from the church there celebrating this 40 years of marriage, and they're miserable. And I always said to me, I won't take those years if that's what that means, right?
Yeah.
But we celebrate that. And again, there's the pressure to leave. And then you look at people here, single folks like myself, fuss, but it's bad out there. I'll just stay. This can't be as bad as that. Then of course, again, that identity. Part of you stay long enough, part of your identity is wrapped up in that person, right? I'm a Jackson, I'm a Smith, we're a this. And then if you tell people, well, was there cheating? Well, then why would you leave? You should be able to fix that. You should be able to fix that. And if the person is fixing it, and I've seen some instances, well, I'm doing these things, and it should be an automatic. Absolutely not. So there's this backlash, like you're saying, and it's interesting, those sources, the family, the church. Um, I remember, and I got left and still got the brunt of it. The first one I left, second one left me, but it was still the same thing. So now we can't even socialize with you because you're a single person. You're not married. You're not in our circle anymore. Somehow there's this mark on you, right? So people put you over there just the very time that you need the village. The villagers abandon you because this doesn't look right, doesn't sound right. That's not what we do. And then if you walk away from the kids and relinquish custody of those children, and I'm seeing women get a lot of backlash from that because we're supposed to raise our kids. Well,
Mm.
if there's two parents, then why would that husband not be able to care for those children? And I'm seeing people that are not mindful of even raising boys like that. Like I remember when Chris was small and he had dolls. He had boy dolls, but he had dolls. I want him to be a caring man, care for a woman or care for children. Why would I not want him to know how to nurture? That was a very odd concept. I'm gonna turn him gay. I'm gonna turn him gay by showing him how to be a human and care
Wow.
for someone else. But we don't do that. We don't train. We train boys to be tough, right? We're supposed to make sure they can fight, that they know how to be competitive. But then we want them to be husbands that care. Well, where did they ever learn that?
Right.
Where was that ever an expectation that any of his characteristics would be someone that would consider someone other than himself? So we train and we raise men like this, and then somehow expect them to be something else on top of never having seen a relationship like they may even desire to have. And I'm saying I've seen it where men desire that. It's like, I want to care for this woman. I want her to know she's important to me. I want there to be an us. But I haven't seen it and I was not raised that way. And so that default is I'm this and you're that. Fighting with themselves, not having that self-awareness to do it. So it's really a phenomenon. And I would like to urge those of you who are parenting still, or if you're grandparents even, to be influenced. What kind of man are we forming, shaping, we call it in early childhood, right? What kind of man are you forming? And why do we all of a sudden expect that somebody at 25 is going to figure all of these other things out that totally go against how they were raised? So the women leaving, like I said, to reclaim their lives, they're leaving because and leaving relinquishing custody because of financial reasons, and you heard Angie talk about some of those. But definitely speaking about child support, and like I said, I don't know how many people have dealt with that. You're not gonna get rich off child support. That unless you're some kind of a celebrity, okay? The average person is not getting rich from child support. Child support is like a coupon. It helps get things done. Now it's a welcome resource. I'm not tripping, right? It's a welcome resource, but it does not reach the financial obligations of having that child with you all day. Just think about the incidentals.
Mm-hmm.
Go back, the incidentals of having a child in your home. Oh, mama, it's a taffy apple sale today at school. We're supposed to do a fundraiser. Would you buy this popcorn? Can we take it around and get other people to buy the popcorn? Well, you know you're going to have to buy half that popcorn because everybody else has already bought popcorn for 5 other kids. So there's some money. Here's a field trip. Here's a birthday party. Here's sports. Oh, well, the dad bought the uniform. Yeah, but you're there on the field. So now there's the concession stand. And those things add up having that child with you. So people thinking, well, dang, child support. And then guess what? If that child goes with the father, yes, the mother should contribute to that father. So I'm not saying that the father takes the child and the mother has nothing on her. Absolutely. If he has custody of those children, then yeah, she should pitch in. But if he's making twice what I'm making, that might be in their best interest if he's the better parent. So again, if I got some mental things I've been dealing with, maybe, even if it's not permanent, I need some time to go and invest in myself to get my mental back together. Then maybe I can be a co-parent. So I've seen that some folks really struggling. That woman needs to go somewhere and literally save her life. And those children need to be with a stable parent. And sometimes it is the dad. It is the dad. But people I don't see people embracing that. It's immediately, she just left her kids. She did not leave her children. They are in the care of their father, the
Yeah.
other person who created them. And why would that be a negative? Why would that be a negative at all? So they may fare better being with him. Um, People think, like I said, the backlash, the social pressure we already talked about, it goes against the societal belief that women bear the responsibility for raising children. It's just the default. That's what you're here for, right? You have a womb, have a kid, and you raise it. And I've known people, and in the research for this, women who had children because that was the expectation. When you get married, you have kids. And they never had a desire for it, but it was the expectation. Get married, we have a boy and a girl at least, right? And we do that. So a lot of women relinquish that custody because they had those children because that was the desire of the husband. and he poured into those kids. You could finish raising them. Some people think you're less than a woman not to raise your children on a daily basis. What is wrong with her? Maybe she's gay. And I'm like, okay, what did that ever have to do with raising a child?
Right. Right.
Again, some of the strongest parents I had, especially when I was in pre-K, were same gender loving couples. They had more stability than the baby mamas and the baby daddies. Some people are not gonna like me saying that, but it's true. Okay. And sometimes the women end up losing custody for those reasons. Again, that's a whole nother show. Um, but we need to, as we said at the beginning, try to learn to show some grace and ask questions before we rush to judgment. When we see people walk away and it seems suddenly, if somebody walks away, like my sister here just described, after 36 years of marriage, there's a reason. There's a reason. Trust me, and it might not be the reason that would be a reason for you, but there is a reason, and nobody owes us an explanation.
That part.
I've also said to people, don't take the advice of people who don't have to live with that decision. So that's staying or going. Staying or going. Okay, so I'm gonna get into the lessons and then we're gonna get off of here. And she's been traveling and I've been teaching all week. So here's our lessons and then we're gonna go. First thing I want you all to do is pay attention. That's both spouses. Pay attention to the person you are married to, and not just for these signs to see if they're about to leave you, but you made a promise to a person to share a life. You owe it to them to at least pay attention. If they're moving different, people don't just start moving different because they've hit a birthday. And if it is because of the birthday, it's because what? They're thinking about their life. They're counting up the costs. What have I done? What have I not done? Am I in a better place at this age than I was when we met? And if the answer is no, now I've got to figure out what that next move is. So acknowledge your partner's signs. And women, since this is about women tonight, I want to encourage you to acknowledge your own signs. When you start feeling feelings you haven't felt before, that came out interesting. When you feel feelings you haven't felt before, you need to sit down and have a conversation with yourself. Why am I feeling like that? Instead of discounting it, I shouldn't feel like this. I don't know anybody who's felt like this. Have a conversation with yourself. Why am I feeling like this? Why am I in a depression that I can't shake? Why am I drinking more than usual? Why am I popping pills to get up and popping pills to go to bed? Why am I having to stay out in the streets to maintain my peace? Figure out those questions. And it may be that you need to go talk to somebody. If you can go get your vagina checked out and you can go get your teeth checked out, you can go get your head checked out.
Right.
Therapy is available. And you should not be ashamed to go sit on somebody's couch. It doesn't have to be mine, and talk about what concerns you. So pay attention to your spouse's signs, pay attention to your own. Get some help and save yourself, even if it doesn't save the marriage. You are worthy and you deserve to be peaceful. Yeah. You deserve to be okay. Next, I want you to engage your head and your heart. That's always my favorite. That's before marrying, as well as deciding whether to leave or stay. Know your whys. So those of you who are considering marriage, think about why you're marrying this individual. People don't think about it until after the fact. What is really your purpose of marriage? And I'm telling you, it's some people that are not thinking about it. Okay, they think it's a long date. But I really like this person. We vibe. The vibe is good. If the sex is better, let's go. And it's so much more to it than that. What is the purpose of us being together? And if you don't have a reason other than he fine, you fine, and he makes you feel some kind of way, that toe curling will be over in 90 seconds. I promise you. Think about your whys. Why why do I want to be married in general, and why do I want to be married to this individual? Don't
Mm-hmm.
ask on the other end. It'll be too late. So does it add up? What are the things I feel, and what are the things I know about this person? I guarantee you the leopard doesn't change its spots, they just get bigger. So if you see something interesting at the beginning, it's going to be real interesting as time and age goes on. So engage. I always think about the pros and the cons. What will this person add to my life? What might the sacrifice be being married to this person? What is the benefit of leaving this person? What might be some of the sacrifices of leaving? I tell anybody, don't rush to judgment on any of that. And if you're thinking about leaving, you can separate. You don't have to go get a lawyer right away. You can separate yourself. Go sit somewhere and figure it out. Put yourself in the corner. Put yourself in timeout.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, leaving, people will jump on that bandwagon. Girl, you did the right thing because I wouldn't have been dealing with that either. As they land up with their husband and the mess that they're dealing with him, right? But cheer you on to leave yours. And then you sit up there by yourself and then isolated. So think about it. Analyze the pros and the cons. Marriage is not for everybody. Don't enter a permanent relationship if your personality is one that really prefers moving around as an individual. I'm seeing a lot of people, and again, I know I'm gonna get in trouble for this, who I want to be married and I want to live in two separate houses. I hear the crickets. I'm not judging, but I see that as a setup for failure.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I marrying you? Now I can see we're committed to each other, and you live there and I live there, and we spend the weekends together. I'm gonna sign a dotted line and be legally bound to you, and we live in two different places in the same city. Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
not even talking about long distance marriages, and I know a couple of people who are making it work. So kudos to you. Totally different deal. But I'm saying people literally in the same town. You live on that street, I live on that street. I don't know. I'm not judging. I'm just saying I don't understand it. But I think it's some of that is you really know you're just kind of wired to be by yourself. So why get married? Maybe I need to do a show about that. I'm gonna bring some of those people there. Be honest, children are not for everyone. So the people who end up walking away from those kids, I'm telling you, and there's a lot of articles out there about that. The women never wanted the children. They did what was socially expected. You get married, you have kids. That's what you do. And they were never wired for motherhood. They never were. So for some, it was a no-brainer. They're gonna go with their father because that's not what I do. So be honest. Don't go half on a baby just to keep a relationship. Be honest. Be honest. Be honest. And lastly, again, I think I've said it before, don't deal with the opinions of others who don't have to deal with the consequences. Some people are ashamed. Watch this. This was the other one. Some people are ashamed to talk about their relationship being different. And so they try to mask the fact that maybe they don't have a traditional relationship. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen some couples where maybe the husband does cook more than the wife, or maybe he gardens and she's the one that fixes things. And they'll be embarrassed and try to cover that up and all of that because the expectation is this is what men do and this is what women do. And end up breaking up a family because this is not matching what everybody else is doing. Peer pressure at this age. So if that man is the more suitable parent, don't take those children away from him just because it makes you look like what mothers are supposed to look like. That may be in the best interest of the children when you walk away. Walking away doesn't have to be permanent either. It could be that for a certain number of years, I'm not trading. So I say not trading in their Rottweiler for a pit bull. I'm not even going down that. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. but being honest about, like I said, who needs to be with the kids and during what years. So like I said, it could be you need those 5 years to go reclaim your time, get yourself stabilized, realize some of those dreams. I'm gonna tell you this: I didn't walk away from my kids, um, but I wish, in hindsight, that I had taken more consideration of myself while I was married and after I divorced. And really, I think I would have been a better parent. I think I would have been a better parent having a whole life, things that I did, things that I was interested in, taking some me time and regenerating and relaxing. Then I think my temper may not have been short, times where my temper was short. I think I would have had more patience. I think I might have been able to pour into them differently and model something differently if I had been caring for myself and not again trying to meet the social expectations of those around me to be a self-suffering mother. So women are walking away. You got one, check the signs. If you're thinking about walking away, think about it. And if you have kids, consider, like I said, consider what is best for them. It may be the father, it may be split custody. Um, and if somebody is experiencing some really severe challenges, it may be better that they do walk away for a time period for the good of those children. I see some children who have abusive mothers. They need somebody else in that family to be raising them. Just because they are a female does not mean they should be raising those children. So if you see a woman without her children, don't make the assumptions that she has abandoned. Don't make the assumptions that she is selfish. Ask some questions, go to wonder, and don't rush to judgment. As you got anything closing that you want to think about or share with our audience about Walkaway Wives before we bring this to a close tonight?
I think one of the bigger things, if I had something to leave, is we all have to have a filter that we are willing to put ourselves through. And
Mm,
filter, for me, it was, how does this serve my highest good?
yes, yes,
Because as
yes.
women, we are indoctrinated and acculturated into believing, as we have said, that we are the nurturer and we have these roles that we have to play. But the other part of that is, in playing these roles, how does that serve your highest good?
That part. That part.
And my filter was always that the minute I would ask that question, if I wasn't already feeling some kind of way about the situation, it would quickly highlight, this doesn't serve my highest good.
Yep.
It is not easy if a woman decides, and I'm speaking for the women, I am not ignoring the men, but this is about the women. If you decide that this is not serving your highest good, it does not make you selfish, it makes you mindful.
Yes, yes.
Okay? You cannot have your heart and your head involved if you are not mindful.
Hmm.
Okay? So if you come out of this saying, this does not serve my highest good, then you quickly begin to make that list, draw a line down the middle of the paper, the pros and the cons.
Pros and the cons. That's
When
it.
I drew that line, I had three pros and I stopped with the cons because I was at 50.
Ooh.
I was literally at 50. And I
Wow.
said, you know what? You don't need any more. You got 50 right here. What you keep writing? And I
Thank
still had more to write. And so the hardest part of my leaving was my children were adults. And I thought as adult children, they would have more of an understanding because they had been doing their own relationship dramas or whatever too. And they had been witness what me and my father had been through. That was not the case.
No,
I think
that's
they
still
took it
mommy
harder
and
than
daddy.
they would have if they had been small.
That's still mommy and daddy. Yeah, because they've had that construct their whole life. And again, that's part of their identity. That's a huge part, even
Yeah,
with at this advanced age. That's still part of that my parents are still together. That's like part of
yeah.
even how I introduce. Oh yeah, well when I'm meeting people, if you're dating. So tell me about yourself. Well, I'm this. I got 3 kids. Blah blah blah. I live near my parents, and oh yeah, they've been married 60 years, almost 61 years. If they split up, I think even as old as I am, it'd be like, oh my gosh. So what does that mean about me now, right? And I also have talked to children of divorced parents, um, our age, and they're still somewhere deep in their heart wishing their parents were going to get back together. 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years, they see their parents acting nice towards each other. You think maybe? Are you serious right now? And even with them having been in their own relationships and all that, there's some people that still in the heart of a child, they want their parents together. Even if they've seen some things, even if through the filter of being an adult who's been in relationships, there's still that desire for that nuclear family to be intact. Isn't that interesting? It just
It
is.
is because even when I got married again, I was 62 when I
Mm,
remarried, and I
mm,
had been divorced from their father for some years.
mm.
And my children did not attend my wedding.
I remember. I
You
remember.
know, now, fortunately, we're making roads headway now and roads back in. My two oldest had met my husband a couple of years ago,
Okay.
and my youngest son is just starting to put his toe in the water
Hmm.
to get to know him. So everything works as it should when it should. But that process, I took some really hard hits. And at the end of the day, it still came down to my filter. How does this serve my highest good?
Serve my highest good.
When I left at 55, that first night in my place, and there was peace in my house.
Yes. 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 I remember
I
you
didn't
saying
know peace all those years.
that's a
I
lot.
didn't know how bad my nerves were until my nerves weren't bad anymore.
That part. That part.
And so it's so important that as a woman, because we do give a lot, and I am not talking about the women who don't give a lot.
Right.
And I'm not even judging them. There's reasons why they're that way too. But for those
We're
who
not
have
saying
given,
that you shouldn't give a lot. Because again, not saying that you shouldn't. But we talk about boundaries a lot, right? In our relationship.
boundaries
Boundaries. You
are
should give.
that
You
is
should
key.
give.
That is key.
But
That
not
is
to your demise. Not to
that's
your
it.
demise. Okay.
I'll say this: Jesus already paid it all.
Oh, she said
So do with
he
that
got the
what
bill.
you
He got the bill. Okay.
okay. Do with
So
that what you wish. But
absolutely.
Jesus already paid it all.
But the kids, like I said, the kids not accepting that goes back to what we talked about earlier with the role of mothers, right? So for whatever reason, they still see us as mothers first, not women, and so you belong to us. Now the expectation for their fathers totally different, and again, I could do a whole nother show about that. And I'm not the only one. And I remember my kids, they were probably teenagers when they said this to me, and I had just started dating. This probably was maybe 4 years after my divorce. I started dating, and they were having a cow. Their dad obviously had been dating because he was with the woman that he cheated on me with. Well, they said, well, we know dads are crazy, but moms are supposed to be together. I said, really? No pressure. So I got to be a whole grown up. He can do whatever he wants to do. And so there's again that double standard of what women are, what a good woman is, what a good mother is. And it's self-sacrificing. My son still will tell you, 36 years old. I said, well, why don't you go find me somebody? He says, you don't like who I'm picking. Why don't you pick somebody for me that you think would be great for me? He said, you're good. There's nobody that's going to be good enough for me in his eyes. And I've given him, I was like, carte blanche, go find me somebody. You got us. Really? So I don't want to be graphic, but certain things, I'm sorry, not going to happen. You all can't provide for me. We have spent enough time. Angie, I want to thank you for joining me tonight, talking about these walkaway wives, about how you walked away after 36 years. And look at you now. Look at you now. And hopefully we'll give some grace to some sisters who are out there who've had to walk away for various reasons and maybe had to relinquish custody of their kids for others, and that they're okay and that they will be better and their kids will be better as well. Those of you, next week, what are we talking about next week? I think it's dating trends again, or it could be, I have to look at my schedule. I don't even know what I'm talking about next week. We talked about, new normals or
Mm-hmm.
introducing adult children to the new partner. That was one that somebody asked me to do. So like, what happens if your kids don't get along with the partner? I may go with that. We'll see. Thank you. Appreciate you. You can find me on Facebook, on the couch with Dr. Kim. You can also find, if you're a woman, welcome to join our group, Love and Life According to Dr. Kim. We're about 2,000 strong. So come on in and join the conversation. It never ends. We love talking about everything concerning love and relationships. You can also find me on Instagram, on the couch with Dr. Kim, and of course the YouTube channel here. So subscribe, share, like, and all of that stuff. And we will see you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Friday night, 7 p.m. live and in person. So thank you for your time and your attention. And I'll see you next week. Love you,